Welcome to Brewers Daily. I'm your host, Dave Gasper. Lots to get to on the show here today. It is International Signing Day, so the Brewers are going to be making a lot of signings here through the day, so I want to talk about a couple of the big ones there. Also, we got the spring training report dates. Finally, we know when pitchers and catchers reporting is going to be. That's coming up here, so very excited for that. But we got to start with, again, what's been the big story of the offseason, Freddy Peralta, his trade market, an update on what that might be looking like, because it seems like the market might be dwindling a little bit for Freddy Peralta, because the news that just came down on Wednesday, where you have the Boston Red Sox, who are one of the named teams that have been interested in Freddy Peralta, they sign Ranger Suarez to a 5-year contract. So they're one of those teams. I mean, they've already gotten Sonny Gray. Now they add in Ranger Suarez. They've made their additions to the rotation. They've got Garrett Crochet leading it already. So Boston now turning their attention to getting a bat. They finally did something in free agency. They finally did something in general, Boston here. So they're now kind of out of the starting pitching market. And Boston was one of the teams that looked to me like they were in one of the best positions to land Freddy Peralta from the Brewers, if they were indeed to make a trade. So in the past couple of days, we've seen the New York Yankees pivot and go with Ryan Weathers. They make a move for a starting pitcher under several years of team control. And now we see the Boston Red Sox. They end up making a move and get 5 years of control over Ranger Suarez. So it's very possible that both of those teams are now out of the Freddy Peralta trade sweepstakes. As the Brewers have kind of been holding on, they've been trying to drum up a bidding war for him, it seems like, and now we're seeing teams drop off. So there's fewer teams interested, and the others that are maybe seeing that and say, you know what? Maybe we're going to hold off on this, and we're going to hold off on raising our price and meeting what the Brewers are asking for, and just kind of seeing how things go. Or they're looking in other directions. They're seeing that the Brewers aren't coming down from their price, so they're just going to go other directions. Boston went a different direction. The Yankees went a different direction. So with fewer teams in the bidding, that may make it a bit tougher for Matt Arnold to actually get the asking price for Freddy Peralta, which then could mean he ends up staying and pitching the 2026 season with the Brewers, which I would not be upset about. I'd be very happy to see Freddy Peralta back in this rotation. I think the Brewers would be very happy to see that happen, because with that starting rotation, yes, you got a bunch of really good, young, talented arms behind them, but with Freddy Peralta and Brandon Woodruff leading the rotation, you feel really good about what you got. If Peralta's gone and you're relying on Woodruff, who just returned last year from major shoulder surgery, there are some health concerns if Woodruff can hold up over 162 games. Can he make 30 starts? Can he pitch 160 innings? I don't know. The Brewers don't know. It's going to be really hard to rely on him to do that right now. So having someone more reliable like Freddy Peralta leading your rotation, I think is putting the Brewers in a much, much better spot. So would not be upset with the trade market dwindling for Peralta, because these suitors now, these teams that have been named in his market, are now going in different directions. So that leaves a very good chance that Peralta could end up staying here as we go through the month of January. There's still time, and there's still plenty of teams interested, plenty of teams that can afford Freddy Peralta. So we'll see how it ultimately ends up shaking out. But that market might be getting just a little bit smaller, and that gives the Brewers a much better chance of him sticking around in 2026. So the big news really kind of the day that, in terms of transactions that's going on, is that it is International Signing Day. The period has opened here for 2026, January 15th, as it does every single year. And the Milwaukee Brewers, once again, have an absolutely loaded class coming in with some of the players that they got. So I want to kind of break down some of the big names, the big bonuses that the Brewers are giving out here. And one of the big bonuses that the Brewers are giving out, according to our friend Kurt Hogue, it's going to be $1 million even bonus for this guy. And the name is exactly what you would, it's absolutely spot on perfect. Ricky Monies. That's right. His last name is Monies, Moniys. That is his name. So Ricky Monies, he is one of the Brewers' international signings here today, coming in, joining the organization. He is ranked on MLB Pipeline's international prospects list at 20 overall. And so just kind of reading through the scouting report here, big power type of hitter, big up arrow next to him in terms of his stock, the intensity that he plays with, and the production that he has. So very, very prolific hitter, right-handed swing, tons of bat speed. That's going to help you get to the ball, get to velocity as well. Jackson Chourio, when he was coming up, they were talking about the bat speed. It was ridiculous that he had. He could catch up to anything, catch up to any velocity anywhere. So that is certainly a positive trait for him to have. So for him, being able to put together really good at bats, have an advanced approach at the plate, it's very big for his prospect status. So you got offensive upside, and Ricky Monies, shortstop out of Venezuela, 17 years old, 6 foot tall, weighs 180 pounds right now, but obviously that can still grow, add more muscle to the frame because he's just 17 years old. There's still a lot of physical maturing left to do, but also defensively, reports are on Monies that he does have really good defensive skills at shortstop, and should be able to stay at the position for a little bit. But because of his power ability, he may be moved off the position. Plus, the Brewers also have a lot of very strong shortstops in their system. So eventually, maybe he can move to third base. Maybe he moves to a corner spot. That's not unheard of. But he's someone who should bring the thump for sure in this class. So Ricky Monies is one of the Brewers' big-time signings here today on International Signing Day. Another one here, another Venezuelan shortstop for the Brewers. The Brewers are an absolute powerhouse in Venezuela and the players that they get. Just historically looking down the list of names, Jackson Chourio, Jesus Made. I mean, they do an incredible job scouting that country. And another one here, Diego Frontado, shortstop from Venezuela. He is kind of the all-around type hitter. Above average hit tool is his calling card. Very good speed as well, but also has the glove to be able to stick at shortstop for a little bit here. So very good, very smooth actions according to the scouting reports. MLB Pipeline has him at 24th on their top international prospects list. And Frontado, being able to get better defensively, gives him a chance to stick at shortstop. But he's got another, very good swing, great bat speed along with it, and just has some really, really good contact. Really great bat-to-ball skills, hits the ball hard, and that's going to give him a great foundation for success as he gets into professional baseball here. So, and he comes from, a city, he comes from the capital city of Venezuela, Caracas, so, he's been hopefully staying safe over there, but, a city that has produced Omar Vizquel, Brian Rocchio, lots of big leaguers from that city. So he comes in, he joins the Brewers organization, and really, I think Frontado and Monies are going to be the two guys who maybe have the best bet to become that next guy, like the best player from this class for the Milwaukee Brewers, just with their offensive potential, what they can be. It's hard to find that kind of skill. So for them to have it this early and to be showing those skills, I think they've got the best shot to be kind of that next Jesus Made, that next Jackson Chourio. I don't know if they're going to be top 5 overall prospects in the entire game, but they've probably got the best shot of this group. And the third and final player from this list, from the players that the Brewers are signing here on International Signing Day, is Jose Rodriguez, shortstop, Venezuela. So the Brewers, once again going very strongly to Venezuela, and all shortstops here, all the best players are playing shortstop. They're probably going to get moved off the position as they get older, but pretty much all these guys start as shortstops or as center fielders or as catchers. They will move them to other positions as necessary. If you're starting as a first baseman at this age, it's going to be very difficult for those guys to make the big leagues. They're going to have to be absolute mashers. They're going to have to be big-time home run dudes. So they start up the middle, position player-wise. And, of course, you have your pitchers in there as well. But the Brewers generally don't spend a ton on international pitching prospects. They'll get some, but that's not really their primary focus. They focus on getting the bats internationally And pitching prospects, that's normally what they do in the amateur draft, where they get the players from the U.S., from Canada. Like, that is where they get their pitchers from, generally. But the third player I want to talk about here, Jose Rodriguez, shortstop Venezuela. Talk about the other two guys and their offensive potential. Rodriguez is probably the best defensive player in this group. Arguably, according to a report here from Baseball America, from MLB Pipeline, Rodriguez is one of the best defensive shortstops in this entire class. So he's someone who is going to be able to stick at the position. The question is going to be, will he hit enough as he goes up throughout the system? There's certainly a lot of, positivity, reason to believe that he can turn into that. Short swing, good hand-eye coordination, bat-to-ball skills, not a ton of power. That could maybe come later, but not necessarily going to be his calling card. The calling card is going to be his defense, and defense can get you to the big leagues. You got to be able to hit enough in order to not be a complete black hole, to not be completely useless offensively. But if you can play defense that well, the bar for offense is much lower in order for you to be successful and in order to be moved up, especially at such a premium position. But Jose Rodriguez, an excellent defender, and there certainly could be some upside with him offensively as he matures, as he grows older. That's a great thing to have, being athletic, and you can make those adjustments and just being able to improve as things goes along. Because again, these players are 16 years old. There's still a lot of development ahead of them. But these three guys, Jose Rodriguez, Diego Frentado, and Ricky Moniz, are going to be the headliners, really, of this Brewers international class. There's going to be several more. There's going to be about 30 other names added in this group. Very excited to see how this whole list unfolds and the type of players that the Brewers end up getting. But those are going to be the three headliners from this class for the Milwaukee Brewers. So that's what's coming in here on International Signing Day. These are the top players that the Brewers are spending their biggest amounts of money on, and the rest of the class will be filled out with smaller signing bonuses. So excited to see what these guys are going to be able to do once things get going, and they'll be playing in the Dominican Summer League this season. So lastly, because as we get to the season, things get underway, I want to get to the spring training report dates, because finally we have the dates. We know when the Brewers are going to be starting spring training, as MLB announced that news on Wednesday. February 12th is going to be the day that pitchers and catchers report for the Milwaukee Brewers, reporting to Maryvale, to American Family Fields of Phoenix. That is when we're finally going to get the first videos of guys playing catch, the mitts popping, and we are just going to be finally seeing baseball back. And getting some fresh baseball content for us. And the first full squad workout, that reporting date is February 17th, so 5 days later. So it's coming up. We are 4 weeks away. We are 28 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting. Incredibly excited for that. It is going to be so much fun to get the fresh 2026 season going now that we finally have those dates announced. So you can plan accordingly. If you're heading down to American Family Fields of Phoenix, if you're going to be checking out some spring training, now we know when it's going to be starting. It's a couple days earlier this year because you got the World Baseball Classic. So teams are going to players are going to be wanting to be getting ready for that, because that's going to be going on throughout the month of March there. But very exciting time. Excited to see all these new names, new players coming into the Brewers organization on International Signing Day, and we are just 4 short weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting and a fresh start for a brand new season. And we'll be with you every single day, Monday through Friday, throughout the week. Until then, here on Brewers Daily, be sure to subscribe and get notified every single time a new episode drops. Follow me on Twitter at dgasper24 for all the greatest content over there, absolutely. And we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.